Good afternoon, traders. You have to excuse my voice a little bit as I got allergies, so something in my throat. I may have to clear my throat a couple times, but here's what we got on ES. So we have the daily chart of ES here, and then I have a 60-minute with a couple VWAPs, weekly profiles, and then my running cumulative delta. So on ES, this is Monday's profile. All right, this is Monday's profile. This is our overnight profile. And then today's session with a little bit of the maintenance period right here. And in the overnight session, you can see we're already moving up ahead of CPI. So this is the Asian session. And then I believe this bar right here where we sold off is the open on the Euro session. We balanced out tie range like a 9-point range or something before CPI hit. And then when CPI, of course, we saw the volatility, and then we ended up opening up right in this range. That's not what I meant to do. We'll drop this marker right here. That's where we open. And we also saw a pretty good structure in the overnight here. You see this structure we had that came into play. Structure on session. All right, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. All right, so you can see our gap up today after CPI was about 15 points or so. Yeah, so we opened up with about a 15-point gap, and then we had a little bit of an open auction. You can see that here on this chart, about 5 minutes or so, and then we drove lower. And we drove an A period, we drove right down into this POC from Monday, which was an 11-wide POC. Found buyers there, stuck there for a couple minutes before we started turning higher. And as we got to basically the current high of day or the high of A period, it looked like we might turn lower. And that's what I was thinking because I was short this. But we found buyers, and they basically squeezed everybody out of there. We could see it on the GEX rate too after we really kind of started to pop. We just see the put walls in red just moved higher all day long and moved us right up into the call wall, which lasted most of the day till we finally cleared up all those dealers and were able to go up higher, up to about 52.45 on the day. So on the move up, we left two sets of singles. Well, we didn't leave them, but we put in two sets of singles, and we ended up coming in and closing those out eventually, which was a perfect opportunity. Wouldn't say perfect, but it was a great opportunity for buyers to get involved there. They came in, they closed that second set of singles and essentially tested the open, and then we got a second opportunity in the next period. And from there, it was back to the highs. Took out the existing highs and put in a new high day and ended up closing on the highs to put in a normal variation extreme up on the day. So we had a gap higher, although we did close that. We had two sets of singles, although both of those were filled. We did leave higher value, clearly higher value on the day. And we had a normal variation extreme up on the day. So a little bit mixed there, but overall, all bullish signs. So on the M contract, we had 1.25 million traded, and then we had about 350, I think, on H contract for a total of about 1.5 million traded on ES for those two front months. And with that, the roll is about, I think it was 72% complete at this point. Everybody ought to be on M contract at this point. There's just book's going to be super thin, no volume on H at all. So for the delta, we did about 4,500 positive delta on the day. And you can see on this chart here, the red dotted line is the very large lots. So orders over 100 hitting the tape. And then the orange is the small lots, or the just regular large lots that I have set for about 20 to 100 lots. So you see they weren't really involved much today. So these are mostly smaller market orders getting all this done. As far as advancers and decliners, we had about 1,500 advancers, 1,200 decliners on the NYSE. So pretty balanced. You saw Delta wasn't really all that strong. The Qs, we had 1,900 advancers, 2,300 decliners. So we actually had more decliners than advancers on the NASDAQ. It's not the NASDAQ 100. We had mega cap strong, which is obvious from those numbers, that they're really what moved this market higher today. We had CPI this morning, and the comments I saw were basically that the headlines were disappointing, but it was mostly the shelter inflation that is expected to come down in recent months. So that's how they're explaining the bullishness after that bearish print. I'm not a macro person, so I'm just repeating what I read. We can see in the other markets. So we can see this is ES, NQ also bullish, RTY, small caps, pretty beaten up on the day, actually ended lower, one time frame down and ended at the lows, basically closed at yesterday's lows. We have Bitcoin, took a little bit of a hit, and then crude was pretty much balanced, still in this balance area where we looked below and failed, kind of expecting us to go back up top of this balance, but haven't been watching that closely. We had a gap down on gold that did not close, and then a gap down on 30 years that did not close. And then we have some strength in the dollar today. So obviously yields are higher, bonds lower. But that's pretty much it. That wraps up the day. As far as tomorrow goes, we have a little more to lean on. I wrote in my Substack this morning that, CPI, we get a new auction. And as you can see, open this back up. You can see we had that move down to fill the gap, but we didn't find buyers right at that gap top. It wasn't until we got to that 11 wide POC that we finally found buyers. We had a pretty deep pullback as well that pulled all the way back to the open, closed 2 sets of singles. So we had good range on the day. We had 66 points of range. We had good volume, especially when you have both contracts together. And now, in my opinion, we have better areas to watch. So tomorrow I'm going to be watching this pullback area around yesterday's open where we had this pullback. I'm going to be watching that for a line in the sand. That's going to be my over and under for bulls. And then, of course, we've got today's high. So I'll be watching that. We have all-time highs right above that. And those are going to be the two areas, looking at what we have, the information we have right now to judge. And then we'll look tomorrow at the overnight session, see what overnight trade does and how that sets us up for the open tomorrow. But I'll follow up mañana with my Substack and give an idea of what I'm looking at. I'm going to focus a little harder today because of CPI and because I had other stuff going on anyway. It's kind of diverted my attention to other things so I could let this auction play out and give me better levels to lean on for tomorrow. So I'll see y'all mañana in the morning.